All right, so this is your final exam question. I just want to give it a quick, brief summary of what I'm looking for here. Since I teach another World Civ One section and generally do something different, I wanted to try to keep it as consistent with what was recently assigned to your semester. And so I try to pull out questions that had to do with the reading within the last month or so of the semester. And what I'm asking here is basically you pick one of these five questions to answer. It is an open book, open note exam. So any notes that you've taken or the textbook you've been reading, you can utilize that. In fact, I want you to use that as much as possible to come up with your answer. So there's a lot of flexibility, hopefully, in your answers and your options. So let me just and the what I'm looking for in the style of the paper. Basically, I'm thinking something between like 1.5 to 2 full pages. The font's 12-point font with 1 inch margins. Um, that's fine. Then just upload it to Canvas here. So what am I looking for? Well, first of all, first question has to do basically with Asian history, the material on China in general, but I wanted to give you enough leeway that you can kind of like um, focus in on China if you wanted to, or if you wanted to like diverge into more Korean, Vietnamese, or even Japanese history, you could do that as well. So that gives you a lot of flexibility, I hope, for those of you who enjoy that material and want to look at that, especially since a lot of you are doing the Taylor Genji paper. You can kind of piggyback off of that stuff. So yeah, so that's so if you let's just say you want to do it more on Japan, what you could do is basically open up with a short synopsis of China, and then from there dive into Japan, since China has such a major influence on Japanese history. In fact, China has big influence on all the Asian history. So, if you're planning to do more on the other civilizations, then do it that way. Just like open up with China, then dive into the rest of the material. And if you just want to do China, the same thing. Focus really in on China, write the paper on China, and then if anything, a short like paragraph on its influence on other societies. Number two is a little bit more imaginative. So if you're more of a creative person, the idea here is to kind of create historical fiction, or at least how you would write a historical fiction based on the stuff you read. So this question gives you a lot more liberty than obviously the first question. So the first question is really asking you to be very specific on Asian history from about 500 AD to about 1500 AD, more or less. This question allows you to like cover anything that you really looked at in the semester. So yeah, so it gives you a lot of leeway on what you want to write about, how you want to write it. So, I mean, you could do something about a secret order of medieval monks, or knights. You name it, Courtly Love. It's up to you. Just make sure to like ground it in history. So use your imagination, but show enough within the paper that you're connecting it to actual history. Um, third one. So third one again gives you a big it's a big question. It asks to kind of if you're interested in Africa, and you're looking at the chapters there, you can kind of say like, okay, when did Christianity and Islam make inroads in Africa, and then to like focus in on how these civilizations grew, and in fact, how long lasting those societies have been, right? So even current day, a lot of ups and downs in a relationship between Islam and Christianity, and in Africa. So, but if you're interested in both of those histories, then you can take a look and use this as a way to like dive into that info a little bit more than usual. Number four, this gives you an opportunity to look more at cultural history, which is more my cup of tea. But this one allows you to look at literature, poetry, music, art, and stuff that you covered in the semester. So if you're interested in more of literary quality, you're a music major or whatever, this gives you opportunity to dive in and analyze the cultural trends and connect it to the societies that they came out of. So it does let you obviously look at culture, but it also tries to ground you historically in the context where this culture was created. So obviously, like Heian, Japan, was a really flowering moment of culture there, and you have these novels. So obviously, something like that is an example of what you could see how poetry, literature grew from there. And then finally, last question is really open ended. This is the one that allows you to broach any subject you wanted to that you study this semester. Again, I'm not sure what was covered. I mean, I got a good idea since I teach Rule Civ 1, but you may have really loved Roman culture, or maybe really loved Mesopotamian culture, ancient Egyptian culture, or whatever. This gives you opportunity to kind of create a question based off of that, off of the subject that you really, really, really interested in. It allows you to create a question and answer it. So, yeah, um, that's what number 5 is. So, those are the 5 questions. All you gotta do is pick one. Try to have this. Well, don't try to have it uploaded and finished by the end of this week. Just check the due date. I will probably get going grading these once the weekend is over, because I want to get grades in as soon as possible. And yeah, if you have any questions or any concerns, send me an email. And yeah, don't overthink these questions. You really are. I know this is a tough semester. Um, it hasn't been ideal for anybody with the pandemic. And so the goal here is to just try to kind of flesh out the history that you covered over a semester, and kind of close the semester up in a strong way. Uh, and yeah, again, my goal is don't treat it like a research paper. Basically, when you're ready to take this thing, sit down with your book, your notes, whatever you're going to use, and just dive into the exam like you were taking it in class, and time yourself for about, I think I said 60 minutes or so. Um, but it doesn't have to. You don't have to. Again, it's not a research paper. Just try your best to answer these questions utilizing your textbook and the stuff, your memory, what you went over in this semester. Okay, so good luck, and again, feel free to send me an email if you have any questions.